Okay, all right. They were a little gentler, more gentle than me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Way more gentle.
Oh, it doesn't hurt going this way anymore.
Of course.
Hurts
You
a
twist to the
little.
right, that
Yeah.
pulls that fabric open. You've got to let it go. You're not going to hurt it. It will hurt like a mofo, but you're not going to hurt your back. You're putting your back in the right position.
Did you say like a mofo?
I did. A little sore.
It feels it actually feels a lot better.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Really good. Really happy.
It really does. That's crazy.
You had an injury, you said, playing some basketball. Tell me what happened and what you're feeling.
I was just dribbling the ball and I went in for the hoop and my whole left side of my back just kind of locked up. And it stayed that way for about a week and then it started getting better. But now whenever I turn like this, it still hurts in that same spot when I turn both ways.
Both ways.
Yeah.
And do you think you were, when it happened, I'm just curious, do you think you feel which way it happened when you were turning to the right?
I was turning this way and it
Yeah.
happened. The chiropractor said it was probably just a pulled muscle and all he did was pop my back. He said, oh, there's a rib loose, and he
Okay.
pushed it in.
Okay.
And then he said, get some x-rays just to make sure. So I got x-rays, and then I went to my regular doctor, and he said basically the same thing. It's
Oh.
just a pulled muscle.
So we have, when you're doing those rotational movements, this model does not have the ribs on it, but the ribs attach on the transverse processes of these thoracic vertebrae. And so when we say rib out, some people get real, say, contentious about it because like, look, the rib's not dislocated. We don't mean rib dislocated. We mean that the joint is swollen. And because the joint between the rib and the transverse process is swollen, the rib can, move a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's not correctly seated on the synovial joint here. That inflammation of the joint will actually expand open and push the rib out of place. But it's not like the rib's out of place. But because the synovial joint capsule is loaded with pain fibers, it's killing me. And then anytime you move, when you rotate to the right, for instance, the left side expands open. When you rotate to the left, the joints are jammed on that side. So any movement, either left or right, it moves that joint or the rib that attaches to the side of the transverse. There's ligaments that hold that together, and so there can be, tearing of those ligaments that take about 6-8 weeks to heal. So not only is there swelling in there, but then that swelling actually expands the fabric of that ligament that then can further, that's what holds that joint together. So we want to compress the joint, do you get any ice on that at all?
No.
So that would have been, the most common treatment where, like at football players or, they give them an ice bath after a game. You want to ice right over an injury if that ever happens again.
I've heard don't do rice now, but that's what
Right.
I've always did.
Okay.
Right. He has a different theory
Okay.
on what's being
So when a joint is swollen, I have a couple stories I could tell. I was at a conference and I was was in the pool with my kids, and then I wanted to get in the hot tub. And as I was getting in the hot tub, the steps, how water like messes with depth perception.
Mm-hmm.
I stubbed my toe getting into the tub, into the hot tub,
Yeah.
right? And I was like, but the heat felt so good, and so I just sort of laid in the hot tub, and there was no pain while I'm in the hot tub for like 10 minutes or whatever. I get out, my toe is literally twice the size,
Wow.
and I can't walk.
Crazy.
I looked down my foot and I was like, oh no. So I put heat directly on an acute injury and now I can't walk. So I immediately go up into the hotel area and I get like one of those little buckets and fill it up with ice and just manually ice my toe now because it's literally swollen and killing me because that joint is now filled with fluid and the nerve endings are all irritated. I ice it, the swelling calms down, I can now walk. So whether or not rice works or not, I can tell you firsthand that heat made my foot kill me and the ice is now making it feel better. When you have swelling, ice causes a vasoconstriction. Somebody might say, well, why do we want less blood flow? We have an injury. Don't we want to have blood flow go in there? But you actually create a pumping event when you contract an area with ice and then just not icing allows it to expand. And then you actually create a increased circulation through that pumping action. I believe it's called the Lewis-Huntington reaction, we call it, which is where you have ice constriction and then no ice allows it to warm up again, and then that creates a flow event. So same thing with, so we call it rest. You can't really rest it. Ice compression is what we're going to do through the adjustment. That's compression. Elevation, not really possible. Epsom salt, it uses osmosis to draw out the inflammation and soreness. A lot of one debate on it right now is that it has a lot to do with the omega-3/6 ratio. And we're going to get into a pretty complicated conversation about what omega-3 is, what an omega-6 is. Have you heard of those words?
Yeah, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, so omega-3s and 6s are the lipids, what the heck's a lipid, that holds your cells together. They're called a bilipid layer of these triglycerides that hold your cells together. So your body's made up of billions of cells. Each cell has like a billion triglycerides. So we got a really stupid large number of these lipids holding, basically the glue that hold our body together. When you damage a cell, and this, do you really want all this? Do you want all this? You asked for it. So if I get punched and I have a bruise, or if I cut myself, the cells leak, right? So the glue that was holding the cell has been torn, and all those lipids are leaking out of the cell. Omega-3s are precursors for anti-inflammatory. We call it alpha-linolenic acid. Why the heck? Omega-6 is the precursors for arachidonic acid. So there's a thing called arachidonic acid cascade. So when the tissue has a lot of omega-6s, the tissue is going to respond in a very pro-swelling, pro-inflammatory event. If it's anti-inflammatory, you're going to have a non-swelling, not a huge amount of bruising, pain event. We're supposed to be, at least what I was taught in school, about a 4-to-1 ratio of inflammatory guys to anti-inflammatory guys in your cell walls. So if I actually opened up your cells and counted, you understand which ones are omega-3, which ones are omega-6, you should be at about a 4-to-1 ratio, which means we're a little bit more inflammatory. Does that make sense? Where our body's going to respond in a natural swelling event when there's tissue damage. Does that make sense? Foods that are typically we know is good for us are loaded with omega-3s. Foods that we know are bad for us, chocolate cake, breads, pasta, are loaded with omega-6s. So a person that's on a Burger King diet, they say we're about a 100-to-1 ratio of 6-to-3. If you're on a typical fast food diet, your cells are loaded with omega-6s. And so when you have cellular damage, you're going to respond, and it's such a pro-overtly inflammatory event, you want to use ice to bring it back because of that composition of your cells. So we're supposed to be 4-to-1 ratio. If your diet isn't got enough vegetables and broccoli, and most people are too much breads and pastas and sugar, refined sugars, you're going to be at way too much omega-6s, not enough omega-3s. So that's why we want to use rice. Now, if you're at that perfect ratio, no, Ed, all I eat is watermelon and broccoli every day, no cookies ever, then perhaps you don't need to use rice. I'm serious. There's not enough information because we don't. Who's going to go in there and count every one of your? Does that make sense? All we can do is make a presupposition. But the idea would be that maybe you don't need to use it, and then maybe you'd heal quicker because your body wouldn't have this overt swelling. So when the tissue swells, you actually tear the wounds larger. So imagine it like a balloon, right, that has water in it. If you start putting more water in that balloon fabric starts to get stretched, and eventually it can tear, and if there's a cut in that fabric, it'll tear more. Does that make sense? So you want to control that swelling so you don't further add to the injury that the twisting caused. You asked for. Why would a football player get in an ice bath at the end of a game? Why would they do? They think they do that for fun? Think they dunk their whole body into an ice bath because they're like, oh, I don't believe in rice. Pretty sure the NFL understands inflammation, and if they want their players to play next week, they better control that, car accidents that just all happened out there on the field.
Sorry, I asked this question for you.
Right, I'm just saying, so give it a shot. I don't know, sprain both ankles, one ankle ice, one ankle put heat on, and see how you feel. I'm pretty sure you're going to come back and go, Ed, the ankle that I iced felt a lot better than the one that I put heat on. Main thing I would hope the doctor would tell you was to be if you came in on the day of that injury, I would say no hot shower, at least for the next couple days. Okay. Or have the hot water hit the front of you, the side. You don't be standing there in the hot shower with heat directly hitting that. It'll feel great because heat blocks pain, but you're going to make it worse. So you're going to make it swell more. It's going to hurt more when you get out of the shower. So joint, we got facet injury. We got joint. We're going to compress that. We're going to gua sha. We're going to help them feel better.
That long explanation.
It's nice being 22. So this is not disc injury. The main thing that I think about with this kind of injury is that most people, when they have this injury, their back will just get stiff and it'll just go away. You understand? But it doesn't really go away. It just locks up. Mm-hmm. And then when this locks up, this area now overworks. And then at 35, you have a disc injury down here because of a basketball injury you had at 22 that made your back stiffer. Okay. Just dealing with about an inch forward with your head. Not too bad. Just going to put your rest down. Your left shoulder's high here. Kind of, you're in a you got an injury on the right side of your neck that I want to feel in a second. It's really a head tilt, and then to make your eyes level, you've dropped that right shoulder, and that left shoulder's a little elevated. Okay. Left hip's high. Okay, so we got some distortions. Your body, what happens at 22, and I don't have any pain other than these ribs, yeah, but you're in compensation. You're saying your body's moving itself around to try to find relief. Kind of like having a hot potato in your hand. You're moving it around. It's like, why are you moving it? Well, something's causing me to want to shift. Head back for me. Exhale. Deep breath in. Yeah, it's swollen a little bit there. Exhale. Exhale. Deep breath in. Yeah. Head back. Exhale. Yeah, you're got some tightness in there. We're going to work through that. Some of those joints are a little swollen. That's why they're not going to click for us. Okay. There we go. Exhale. I got you, bud. I got you. Other side for me. Other side. Exhale. Face that for me. Good. Okay. Yeah. This bump right here. This is what I was talking about with your head being tilted. This is all pressed in on this left side, and then the right side I have, usually say there's a roommate right here. This is an old injury or whiplash, and your head just wanted to tilt left to get away from it. Makes when you tilt your head left, the bones move to the right. And the end effect isn't even on the right side. The end effect is you'll wear out the left lower part of your neck, left shoulder, because you're in what I call right avoidance. All right, I got you, bud. Here we go. There you go. Very nice.
Not that good.
Good.
There you go. That chin up. Okay, yeah, a little tight on that side. We're going to look at it.
Yeah, I was going to a massage therapist next to where I live.
Okay.
I went there for like probably 2 to 3 months, but I haven't been there.
After the rib injury, they didn't?
I went there for the rib injury, but it wasn't getting any better, and I was going there for about a month just for that.
Interesting. All right. So what's happened that tells me it's more than just, we say massage in and of itself won't change your posture. Neither will an adjustment, neither will acupuncture, neither will lasers. You have to compress and stretch. And so, your work at Publix mainly, I imagine, is forwardly rotated, right? You're having to cut or bend forward or lift, and so the question is, where is the counterbalance, right? Where is the bending back to counter all the time we spend bending forward? And well, there isn't, nor has anybody showed me. And I had an injury, and then I healed working at Publix, or I healed sitting in a chair or watching TV, or we heal forward, and that's what I mean. If we don't get the posture fixed, that 35, 40 has these disc injuries associated with it.
They did cupping and they did the scrape thing that he uses.
Cool, okay. We're getting there as a society. I'm happy here to hear. People are catching up to what's been done for 1,000 years in China. Finally. The main curiosity I have now is when we put you into extension, how much you want to punch me. We'll see that in a second. Because that's most likely the key piece that's missing, is that the area needs compression. We need to bring that spine back into the right position. We take x-ray to, what do you want to say? Confirm what I already know to be true. And what you really can determine on an x-ray is dislocated bones, broken bones. You understand? That's why you're taking an x-ray. So if you're diagnosed with, I believe you have a muscle pull or muscle sprain strain, then you should be taking an MRI. Okay. To have a hope of seeing it, x-ray shouldn't have been taken in the first place, but don't get me started. If he thought, I think you might have cracked a rib, you understand? Mm. Then you take an x-ray, because now we're going to potentially see the actual thing that we believe to be true. But he didn't say that. He didn't say, I think you have a broken rib. I think you have a pulled muscle. Okay, then why are we taking, well, the x-ray came back clean. Yeah, for what you can see on x-ray, okay. Not for what my injury is. There you go. And even the head being forward has a percentage of effect on that area. The more the head goes forward, the more the chest goes backwards. We call this coupled motion. So the area that you're pointing to is put in a compromised position. The more the head's forward, the more you work rounded forward. So it's not like your neck is independent of that. It's kind of in the same arena. It's kind of more the cause of it. Having an injury in your neck makes the head go forward. puts more mechanical stress on that area. Then when you play basketball, injuries happen easily. So I look at it as like kind of you're set up for it. Years of being a student and yada yada yada, and then work.
I played sports too in high school.
Okay. Well, so I'm starting to say, doing all those things, and then being a student where you're sitting 10 plus hours a day,
Yeah.
puts your spine in an alignment where now it doesn't take much to injure a rib.
Okay.
So you're like set up for it. To me, at the teenage level, we don't have proper health care, mechanically checking posture and mobility so that we don't just easily hurt ourselves dribbling a basketball and twisting. It's like kind of ridiculous. Why?
How
Right.
did this happen?
Right. Well, but that's exactly my point. I say it frequently to patients. Like, Ed, I didn't do anything. I've had people lean over to pick up a pencil. Oh, my back went out. I can't move. So what is the conclusion? Don't lean over to pick up pencils? No. Have the spine healthy in the right alignment so that injuries don't happen so easily. Have you heard the word lordosis before? I know through my videos, but when your chiropractor is anybody else other than me,
No, just so you know.
Nobody-
My
nobody-
chiropractor never told me about
never
that.
says the word lordosis. Okay. So that word means, obviously, you've watched my videos enough, probably, the curve that your neck is supposed to have. And the reason why I'm spending so much time rubbing and adjusting you is that if your neck isn't supple, it's not malleable enough to accept the curve. So we have to make your neck supple so that it will mold into the arch. The maintenance of those lordotic and kyphotic curves are really why I have an office. We lose these arches because of, like I said, how many hours during your work shift are you?
The whole time.
Right. How often are you looking up at the ceiling?
Never.
Never. Right. So I had a patient the other day, like, why do you have to like bend back so far? Why is that good for you? Well, I said, how many hours do you spend? If you didn't spend so much time looking down, then we wouldn't have to spend so much time looking back. It's just simply a balance thing. All right. One more. Let me check. Here we go. Good. Yeah. All right. Gotcha. Oh, yeah. Extra. Yeah. There's I guess an injury in there. Point.
Right here.
Yeah. So you have the lower, probably T11, T12, the lower floating ribs down here. They're the weakest ones because they don't attach to the front, so they're most likely to sprain. You don't have a double union. They have a connection back here and a connection on the front. So these last two are the most, destabilized because they only have one point of contact, right? So they're more easily pulled out. But the facets that connect the vertebrae together would be pain real midline, right? But when you get it more out to the side, that's the rib attachment. There's muscles that attach to that that can then pull and yank that rib and stress it, right?
Okay.
So it's a pulled muscle that inflames and irritates the joint. When we have injuries, it's easy for us to heal with the joint expanded open. So like the fabric is held tight. It's like having a cut on your skin. What's the most common thing you do is you butterfly stitch it and close it, right? You don't want to gape the wound and then be left with a large scar. That's what sitting does to rib injuries. It gapes them. Doing okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine. If I'm going too hard, let me know. I'm going to keep going deeper. Here we go.
All right.
There's a significant difference left to right here.
Yeah, I don't know why it's like that. It just,
Yeah,
like
this-
that.
to me, this is just a reflection of the head tilt. The head's tilted left, and this brings that whole shoulder, and that's why we're tilting of the shoulders going on. Ribs are elevated here. It's ultimately usually a neck problem that then reflects its way down.
Can you go lighter?
Say again?
Can you go a little
Lighter.
lighter?
Okay, greedy. Start feeling that all in there. Man, that's just crazy. All right in there. All right.
Too much elbow grease.
It's like a physical trainer gym. We're trying to find the limit and then back off. That's where we want to hang out. I mean, fairly quick it's coming out here. It's already pouring out of here. Did you say it's right around here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Right there's where ribs attached right in there, and then there's a lot of muscular attachments right around there that can pull it out of place. This is where I put Epsom salt. See, the faster we get rid of these marks, usually the faster you'll feel better. Anything that moves this tissue and makes the lactic acid move, it's going to cause pain. But once we get the acidity out of here, it should feel a lot better. And then compressing it should reduce the room size or the pocket size so that it can't just refill back up again and it's back again. You can do things at home to keep that in the right place. They were a little gentler, more gentle than me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Way more gentle.
It came out within, I think, 3 swipes. There's joint injury in here, and perhaps this area is stiff and you don't necessarily notice it unless I touch it. That makes sense. When I was elbowing this, we're running into the monsters that have been hidden in here, and there's, not a minimal amount in here. It's quite a bit. This is a tough area. It's kind of, shoulder blades can kind of cover this area up. It's kind of like underneath your rug in your living room. It's an easy place to hide dirt. Just you know, if everything's back in the right place, 4 to 6 weeks. So you're like 4 months here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, something's. It's not going to just alleviate itself at this point. You know, care has to be administered to get the body. It would have self-resolved otherwise. There's some here on the right, but I'd say maybe a quarter, maybe a third as much. Both are responsible, but yeah, there's definitely not as much on the right side here. We kind of want to close the wound by bringing it from lateral to medial. We're trying to press that rib up against the rib head. Squeeze that out. There you go. I'll try to arch up and see how. There you go. Does that change it at all? Makes it hurt worse or?
No.
Good. Okay,
Feels the
good.
same.
It shouldn't. I'm just. You know, we want to. That just helps aid in closing it. So when you're chilling at home, you want to be, you know, arching up on your belly, watching TV like this instead of sitting on the couch, rounded forward, feet on the coffee table, which would expand this and open this up. You want to have it heal in this direction. And I'll show you another way, basically on your back on the Dental or roller that emulates this way. This is the compression. We gotta keep compressing that. Good. Okay, all right, you can lay back face down if you want. There it is, nice. A little test run here, see how.
Still hurts. Oh, it doesn't hurt going this way anymore.
Uh-huh.
It still
Hurts.
hurts
You
a
twist to
little.
the right, that
Yeah.
pulls that fabric open. Yeah, we gotta compress it now.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's where that injury is. You know, it's not gonna feel great until the marks are gone. You gotta get that acidity out of there. That shouldn't be possible. The mark, see, I mean, I scraped the heck out of that. You know, why didn't the mark come out here? It's all pink. But why did it come out like it's all inflamed? And then the right's not nearly. I mean, there's some, but, and that's the area that you told me to back off.
Yeah, that was hurting.
There's a monster in there. that this feeds that. There you go, breathe. Wow, okay, all right. Here we go. Okay, good. Okay, all right. Gotcha. To the left. There we go, a little bit. Go ahead and tilt left. Go ahead and tilt your head right. Go ahead and tilt your head to the right for me. Sure. Okay. Yeah, heel too tight. Look at that. Knees left compresses it. This, when you bring your knees left, you're compressing the joint. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And breathe. Breathe in deep. Exhale. There you go. Stretch. It's just a time. You're not going to hurt it, I promise.
Okay.
It's going to hurt like hell, but you've got to let it go. You're not going to hurt it. It will hurt like I'm mobile, but you're not going to hurt your back. You're putting your back in the right position.
Did you say like a mofo?
I did. There you go. You'll get. Stay in the middle for a minute. Just keep knees in the middle. Breathe. Wow, just let it go. You got that a lot of tension back there. There's a lot of guarding. That's part of why it doesn't go away. Is you've got it so, you understand, contracted, protecting it, and you got to be like Yoda. Let it go. Let go of all that you fear to lose. Something like that. Breathe. You're not going to hurt it. Going to compress. There you go. Let it stretch. There you go. Better. Yeah. There you go. I think, like I said, I think the main thing that would be beneficial is you give that Epsom salt on your back when you get home, Epsom salt, and then you'll see it, we'll say, the pain markedly reduce when those bruises on your back, when your body dissipates and flushes out that acidity in there. It's kind of like having a bruise. Like if I, you punch, bruise. If I touch here, even if I touch around it, it moves the bruise, it hurts, right? There's a bruise internally that anything that makes that bruise move makes it hurt. We got to get rid of the bruise, and then you're going to go, oh, it doesn't hurt. Like, give yourself a few minutes. Don't just be quick to get up after you lay on this. I know I made it look really easy. You gotta, this is it's a thumb or an elbow. They made a piece of foam, and then this tapered edge is important so we don't bend too much where we don't want it to bend. We want it to bend here, but we support it and prevent it from bending too much where we don't want it to bend. So it always goes like this with the thumb part on the higher part. Do you do a lot of gym stuff? Do you do a lot of...
Yeah, I do go to the gym, and I go to my little brother's wrestling practices.
Like at the gym, are you doing sit-ups?
Not really, no.
Let's just take it easy on that. Let's not be crunching and
Okay.
And pulling that. Let's let it. I want it to heal.
You're wrestling with your little brother, you said?
Yeah, I do. Should I just stop doing that too?
Coach?
I mean, like I said, it's one of those things where with the rib and with the joint in there, you're gonna directly know when you're hurting it.
Mm-hmm.
So I can sort of trust you to know what to do, versus a disc where I can't. So at 22, rib injury. If you're wrestling and you start feeling it hurt, you're hurting it,
Okay.
right?
Yeah,
So you
it
need
doesn't
to.
hurt when I do it.
It doesn't hurt while you're wrestling.
Mm-mm.
I mean, then you have the adrenaline thing. That
Okay.
the only thing then that left is adrenaline can block pain, and then if it hurts worse later than it was hurting,
Okay.
you were damaging it. So it can. But that's a good sign that it's not really bad, because then it would just immediately start hurting when you were wrestling. But there is a level of when you're adrenalized and there's a little bit of blocking of pain there. I would encourage you to, even before and after, especially as this heals, you're checking your spine for mobility before you do something like that. Before you go to bed, you're doing this to put your spine back in the right position. This is like brushing your teeth. You know, you don't brush your teeth, eat a bowl of ice cream, and go to bed. You do this right. The last thing your spine sees is this. You don't do this and then go sit on the couch for an hour.
Okay.
It's not working, Ed. Well, did you do this and then go to bed? No. Do this and then a half hour, you know, somewhere in the last half hour of your day is the ideal time to be, you know, putting your spine back in the right position. It's time to start asking your back to do the things you wanted to do the rest of your life, right? So you know, I don't want to be in pain, and you have to ask for it.
Okay.
How's it feel now? The same thing, just a little sore?
It actually feels a lot better.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. Really good, really happy.
It really does. That's crazy.
Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome.